Then it's France versus Belgium for this particular matchup, and we actually didn't discuss the map picks, really sorry. And yeah, the first map right here for this match is going to be Slalom, which was the map pick from Soulja. Then we have Reversing, Frozen Fringes, Bicycle, and Arctic Splits.
Yeah, so first pick here going in the favor of Soulja. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, it was the Soulja's map pick, Slalom, yeah.
And it is really no surprise when you think about it, because Soulja here has a 206.6 personal best, which is very close to the world record. It is similar pace to that of Carl Jr. in pack on this track, at least on paper. And he's getting off to an early lead here in the first round on Slalom. They are playing 2 laps. It is a best of 4, so first to 4 points wins the map, and then a best of 5 overall. Could be very close. We saw Grenadier Worker go the distance. But in the first round here, they're actually very close, dead even. As we're going into the second half of the map, up the reactor part here, really important to keep good speed, and Binkss actually winning out on this one, is being able to keep up with Soulja here, who gets a little bit better of a turn there. But now we go into the identity, into the ice part, where most rounds in Slalom are decided. They're gonna go up the hill, turn the car sideways, drift, and try to keep the grip. Different lines, but Soulja, they're building up a lot more speed than Binkss to take the lead into the second lap. And let's follow the splits here. What's it going to be? It's a 105.34, but it's actually dead even.
Yeah,
as Binkss now.
Yeah, it is indeed a dead heat, and yeah, you could see Binkss going for a bit of a spikier line. I don't know if those are the words that I can come up with, but yeah, he did go a little bit higher up the slope, whilst Soulja managed to keep it clean and somewhat smooth around the CP. So yeah, it definitely helped the matters for the Belgian a little bit, but it's still game on between the two players as we're heading onto the dirt section right now with the very first slalom of the map coming in. Through the dirt they go, neat and tidy through, nicely avoiding the poles, or the flags, should I say, because those are flags. Moving on to the reactor boost part. Seems to be pretty good as well. Binkss having a gap of around half a tenth, and Soulja slowing down, apparently. Forced to release maybe a little bit at the exit of that reactor boost part. Still around a tenth of a gap. Moving on to the U-turn now. Let's actually see. It could be really close, but Binkss has more speed potentially on the way in. Oh no, it's not going to be enough for Binkss in this instance, and Soulja will take the early round win with a 207.252 at the end of 2 laps.
Oh, what a round. Only 700s between the two. And I do want to remind you of the world record, a 206.60, so they're already driving very close to that world record pace. Soulja does have the best personal best here, and from what I can see, that is actually one of the best times that Binkss has posted publicly. He doesn't have a lot of the times on the boards, but that is certainly enough to get you into the top 10 already. So very fast rounds being driven here on Slalom. And you did mention the difference in the ice lines there. Soulja going for more speed, which does net him the win, while Binkss takes a way sharper approach, just gets the grip and goes down. So difference in what they prefer. Binkss going for the tightest line, Soulja trying to build up speed. But in these first 2 slalom lines, it is a lot more about speed than the last one. Especially this turn here. How much speed you get here can transfer for the next 5 seconds up the hill and across that long platform turn. And Binkss driving a superb run right now, being 0.3 ahead of Soulja as we're coming towards the ice slalom turn, the identity. Up the ice hill we go now. Very important to keep your grip, to not slide out. And Binkss has gone off the track. Soulja here surely looking for a knockout win. 1.7 seconds ahead. Make that 2, make that 3 checkpoints in a row to win the round here by knockout. 2-0 for Soulja.
And I think that's actually been a pretty rare instance that we've seen so far of drivers sliding off the top of the slope. I think we've only seen OGL players pull that off in this particular day of competition, but yeah, it can still happen. Binkss is case in point right here as we're moving on to round number 3, and so far it is Belgium having an advantage with 2-0 over for Soulja over Binkss right now, but Binkss takes the early lead into the next round.
Yeah, that was very interesting. I think with the line Binkss takes, it's a lot more likely to happen, because with Soulja's line, you're going more sideways, so you're getting more grip, essentially. But with Binkss's line, you're just trying to stop the car. And if you're not able to do that, if the gearing of the car is a bit off, then you just go up the hill, and sometimes they're barely able to save it with a very wide line, but Binkss there just went off, and that's Soulja's round. This time, no mistakes. It's a similar pattern, a similar story that we saw in the last round, where Binkss' starts here are just really good. But now let's see if he's fixed his mistake, if he can keep the grip and stay on the slope here. and not go off the top. Here we go with the grip. He has less speed into that, makes it possible to go through, and he holds the lead into the second lap here with what I think is a very fast lap time. Let's see what it is. 1:05.01 here, so opening very strong, Binkss, and if you can keep that pace into the second lap, this is going to be a strong time.
Strong. It could be definitely on course for a pretty strong time indeed, as you said. Half a second of a gap for Binkss ahead of Soulja right now. Moving on to the wall ride. Soulja going for a lower line compared to that of Binkss. Binkss will go a bit tighter down the banking compared to Soulja, who tries to keep the dive to a minimum. But so far it pays off for Binkss as he currently holds a lead of 6/10. Moving on to the slalom part, still managing to keep it nice and tidy through there. Maybe losing a bit of time through that slalom, but nothing to worry about as we move up the reactor boost. Moving on to the... Oh, and sorry, but he turned in too early and he touched the wall. He got defeated by the wall in a pretty fierce fashion, and that's borderline win by KO for Soulja. 1.39 seconds. As we're moving on to the final U-turn here. Sorry for if I'm at a bit of loss for words, but that is just unthinkable what I saw Binkss do here, and he will give the round win to Soulja with a 207.728 at the end for the Belgian, and we're already in the finalist situation, 3-0, and the chance to open the scoreboard for Soulja.
Yeah, Soulja here has really just, except for that first round, been gifted 2 rounds in a row now, so Binkss driving very, very fast, but making these mistakes that allow Soulja to win the rounds overall. But the actual pace on this track is a lot closer than what the scoreboard is showing. Could Binkss win this one? He would have to chain together 4 rounds in a row. But if he opens with 1:05.01 again, that is looking very likely to happen. Another good start here. Very clean driving overall. Very good lines, just pushing through for speed in every corner here. And those Soulja's doing the same. It's just these small refinements in every part that gives Binkss this lead. Time and time again. Up the hill we go now. Better speed for Binkss. It's going to be about 0.2 of a second again. That is just the difference he's able to accrue. And this time he makes it through that turn without bonking. So it's looking solid here for Binkss. Going down the hill onto the ice part now. Could he keep the grip? The only player who's fell out here so far. Slows down just enough to make it, but Soulja does get closer. It's only within a 10th now. As they're going down the hill, jumping up, Soulja angling a little bit sideways. That's going to cost him speed. It's going to be Binkss with a bit of a bigger lead as they go into the second lap, 1:05.16, and it's very close right now.
Still very close, and it looked like a better entry into the dirt for Soulja right here for the moment, but it turns out that the gap says otherwise. It's a gap of around 1/10 of a second in favor of Binkss right now, heading into the banking. Both are going for the dive low into the banking right now, and yeah, Soulja managing to pick up on that and catch up a little bit to Binkss. They're within each other's ghosts right now. Binkss going really close to the entry flag right here on the first slalom through the dirt. Moving on to the reactor boost now. Let's actually see if there's any mistake. No, Soulja with a bit more of a conservative line through there. He will lose a bit of time compared to Binkss, but it's still pretty much game on as we're moving on to the identity here for the final time in this round for the second lap in this round, should I say, sorry. And Binkss could be in with the shot of actually delaying that finalist and that map win from Soulja, sorry, as we move on to the final part. More speed for Soulja, potentially. This could be the line right here. And Soulja takes it for less than 100th of a second. And
now
with a 4-0.
Is a snipe. Yeah. Really good snipe there to secure the 4-0, and good times by both players. Soulja, though, winning the first map in style.
First map in style indeed, and showing why he picked this map as we're moving on to map number 2 already. This was, if I recall correctly, if I'm picking actually, this is Binkss map pick, and we're moving on to Thompson's reversing.
Yeah, so this is, to me, this is the most interesting map in the map pack, just because of this 2-lap strategy, where on the second lap, the players just go backwards into the finish, and the first lap they turn around, and anything can really happen here. The races are never over until they get across the finish line. You can't really call it too early, so you're sort of just sitting there waiting for the ending. But Binkss has chosen this one. Does favor it over Soulja. I'm looking at this pace here, and I cannot see a time publicly from Binkss, so we don't know his pace. But Soulja is the 4th player in the world here with a 2:05.05 current world record, a 2:04.80. Is to be said, but in the matches here, I think we can expect times of 2:05, maybe even 2:04 if things get really heated. Good starts by both players into the grass part. Binkss going very close to the walls. Looks like he's practiced this well, as he's daring to risk every corner right now to overtake the lead from Soulja into the downhill drift right now. Still in the lead. But the ending of this map is the most decisive part, the identity. So we have one final technical corner, and then it's going to get interesting. They're going to go onto the grass, jump very high up here, and land backwards onto the ramp, and try to carry as much speed as possible. Soulja looks like he could get good speed, get maybe a little closer to Binkss. It's going to be about the same difference as they go down the hill.
Oh, Binkss touches the pole.
Yeah, it's Soulja, but Binkss will be able to hold this right now, with the knockout win happening on this checkpoint for a quick 1-0 on his first map pick.
This was a David Croft moment brought to you by Thomas Mangosi. Anyways, yeah, sorry for messing up the name. I meant Soulja, of course, which I was spectating in this particular instant. But yeah, Binkss taking the first round win 1-0 in this matchup, as we're moving on to round number 2 already.
Yeah, so that is how quickly it can turn, and we didn't even get to see the second lap, where things get even more heated. But Binkss really showed what he was capable of there, because even if Soulja didn't crash, that was a 1:04.8 opener lap, which is faster than what we've seen in the Grand League races sometimes. And Binkss here looking very, very strong. And Soulja, even if he doesn't crash this round, is going to have to go faster to keep up with that pace from Binkss. But then again, we saw Binkss make many mistakes as he's driving so riskily that it does maybe sometimes cost him time, just like right now, where he's right on the edge of the track and hits the wall to give Soulja the lead here. The difference is only 0.3, so it's not over yet, but that is the game you're playing when you're going risky like this. Sometimes you just lose it all, but here he's gained it back again, goes up into the lead, down the hill we go, and now they're both going to get the backwards turn. Are they going to get the turnaround? Soulja with a superior line here, but he jumps, and that's not going to pay off. It's a 1:05.5 from Binkss, and he has to lead by half a second.
Half a second of a lead. A little bit of airtime costs Soulja a little bit, and that's going to be basically paying all the way down up until checkpoint 2 right here, where it is the only instance where he can actually catch up. You can see the gap shrinking right here for Soulja, but it's still marginal gains that we're talking right here, around 100th of a second when the early lap from Binkss and that small mistake from Soulja at the end really compounded the advantage of Binkss. Right now, he's currently 8/10 up on Soulja, as we're moving on to the final part of the map right now with the identity coming up. Let's see the jump over the bubble from Binkss' perspective, then from Soulja's perspective, looking pretty nice and tidy indeed. Moving on to the jump on the ramp. We saw actually Link clip a little bit earlier. Nobody's clipping in this particular instance. Now, we'll have to see. Will Binkss go for the safer route and go for the turnaround, or will he go for the reverse strat? He goes for the reverse strat. He will be able to pull it off and win the round with a 2:06.262 with a 1:00.670 as the fastest lap.
Quite a beautiful finishing time there, 2:06.262. It's a nice coincidence from Binkss, but driving that time while crashing on this track is rather impressive, because there are races that have been won with that time where no players have really hit any wall. So if you can do that while crashing, it is also sending some pretty strong signals, as I said, that Soulja will have to go faster here, and he's making the clip mistake, which is just giving over the round to Binkss. I think he will not be able to get this jump, and Binkss should be able to knock out this 1.8 seconds right now, and it's going to extend. That is a quick 3-0 for Binkss now to put him on match point, or map point here on reversing.
Yeah, and even going for the full stop pick in the pole, because he already crossed the 3 checkpoints. So yeah, we could be seeing one 3-0 go to another 3-0 for different players to even the scales a little bit, as we're moving on to round number 4 already. This could be either expeditive, or we can see Soulja potentially make that last a little bit longer, or maybe delaying the inevitable. I don't know if he's able to come back from this.
It is going to be an uphill battle, and I don't know how his expectations were about this map. Binkss clearly favoring this as is one of his strongest maps, and it's showing right now. Soulja trying his best though, and I think he's just going to try, see how far he can get. If Binkss makes some mistakes, he's going to capitalize. But from here on out, Soulja has to drive perfectly clean. Cannot really make any mistakes, because Binkss is faster on paper, is the thread that we're seeing here. Going through the turn now, both pushing for speed. Good job by both players. Binkss will make that jump with a tighter line as we're going up to the big jump. Landing backwards, we've seen Binkss get more speed here time and time again. And it does show up once more. Better backward slides down the hill. A lot of speed though. He has to try to control this. Goes wide, but he makes it in time. Soulja with a really good line to try to catch up and overtake first place into the next lap. He carries that speed, and he actually holds the leader by half a second. Soulja now with a chance to get on the board.
Yeah, unfortunately for Binkss, that exit from the J-turn made him get a lot of airtime, as he did not have enough time to correct to actually get on the slope and keep the tires on the ground. And unfortunately, that was the cue for Soulja to actually step in and take the lead. 6/10 of a gap between first and second right now, but Binkss is not saying his last words just yet on this round. He can still catch it up, but yeah, it could still, it's half a second is definitely going to take a miracle if Soulja can keep this clinical, keep it consistent, and keep the pace with Binkss. Unless Binkss can pull something special, it might be game over now, as we're moving on to the identity for this particular round, for the final round in this, for the final lap in this particular round. Sorry. Moving on to the ice patch. Will Soulja go for the risky strats? He will go for the J-turn, and Binkss will go for the risky strat. Can he pull it off? No! He gets the airtime that prevents him from getting enough speed to deny Soulja a 2:06.232 and 0.15 of a difference between first and second.
Soulja just barely managing to hold on there. I mean, when you have that lead, you should save it. He makes the correct play, but Binkss makes it very close there with a beautiful ending, going for that backwards line. So that's what we were talking about going into it. You can just fully go backwards into the finish instead of turning around, but you are risking it all with that line. And wow, Binkss made him fight for it there. This time though, if Binkss can avoid making that mistake in the lap change, that was really what cost him that round. So surely looking to fix that up now, because the rest of the map here, he's looking superb. He's driving better lines. He's going tighter into this turn to have more time to set up for this one. Just building more speed here. Oh, but he clips. Never mind. And Soulja will overtake first place. Not by a lot, though. Great save by Binkss to stay alive in this one, as that looked rather fatal when it happened. Only 0.1 of a second, so really, it has not lost him too much time, but how mentally affected is he by that, by being so close to the limit? Does he dare to keep pushing now, or will Soulja have the advantage? Never mind. Soulja sliding out, and Binkss now with a knockout win waiting to happen. Is going to string together these track points very quickly. That's one, make it two. Third one just around the corner, and Binkss here will take his own map pick, make the series a 1-1, and we're all tied up for the series right now.
All tied up for the series, but that particular slide looked to be very odd from Soulja. I mean, we only see it for the perspective of Binkss on the broadcast, sorry. But yeah, as you saw him turn in around the poles, he ended up getting a slide. He did not, he ended up getting a bit too much of a slide and completely slid off the track, which was very odd from my point of view. As we're moving on to map number 3, which is Soulja's second map pick, Frozen Fringes by Histo.
So let's talk a little bit about pace here. If we're looking at the rankings on this track, we'll see that Soulja, once again, is the only player we have known pace of. He has a 2:12.40 personal best, which is about 0.4 of a second behind the world record set by Pack. But it is a very strong time overall, and in matches we usually see times of around 2:13 here. If they're able to dip 2:12 though, you'll know we have a match on our hands, because that is very, very hard to drive consistently. But so far with the pace they've had on the other tracks, I think that's what we're in for. And on this track, it is one of the closest tracks overall in pace. You're not going to be able to see players gain a lot on each other here, as most of the lines are very set in stone. They're very forced, if you will. The players are just going to take the line because it is the best line, and it's not so much coin flipping things that can happen. So Binkss staying in the lead. We're going to see something here, maybe some different lines. They're looking very similar, both just trying to build up speed for this engine off block. Now we're going down the hill towards the identity, where we'll see Soulja hit the wall just ahead of it, losing speed all the way up until the turnaround. And this is going to be the first round for Binkss. Yeah, does surrender this one, I think, as that was just a series of unfortunate events for Soulja. Binkss now with the 1-0 on Frozen Fringes.
Yeah, unfortunate stuff from Soulja. Unfortunately, touching the wall on the freewheel, and that's just the worst place to actually get the slowdown right here, because it completely saps all your momentum all the way down up until the checkpoint before the reactor boost part, and then that small touch before the reset block really prevented him from getting that checkpoint and completely wrecked his race altogether. And round 2 has begun. Binkss taking an early lead of less than a tenth, 700th of a second over Soulja, but we are going to be seeing how the German fares in this particular instance.
Yeah, definitely. Like, this track, if no player makes a mistake like that, it's going to be closer, but Soulja was the first one to crack. Did indeed crash the wall in this very decisive freewheeling part, or engine off as it's called now. Do have to be very careful here to not hit the wall, to build up speed, and he has a lot of it now. Can he hold it here into the downhill? Looks like he's catching up to Binkss here, so now we're going up the ice wall to the turnaround. You want to turn around inside the checkpoint as soon as you can. And then you're going to go down the hill and try to carry as much speed as possible towards the next checkpoint. 3 times in a row is the name of the game here. They get all of them both very cleanly, but it is 0.2 of a second lead for Binkss. We're going to see a low 108 first lap here. Let's see what he brings into the next one. 108.6, so actually rather slow, all things considered. We are looking for a 213 overall, but Binkss here holding this lead right now.
Now, we said, I meant to say Belgium instead of German, sorry, but in the heat of the moment, everything seems to be kind of misting up in the head sometimes, but bear with me as we're going through to the second half of lap 2 right here. Currently, Soulja trying to catch up to Binkss. The gap still around the 10th of a second heading into the dirt part. Binkss still having something to play with right here versus Soulja. Oh, what was that jump? That jump made me scared a little bit, and he loses a lot of momentum through there, and that allows Soulja to move through into the lead as we're moving on to the identity now. Let's see, Soulja keeping the gap of around half a second. Second turnaround coming up. Third turnaround right now, and Soulja still having the lead right here, unless Binkss can pull something special and have more speed, but he goes a bit too wide, managing to keep it off the wall. But Soulja will take the round win, and even the scales on Frozen Fringes 1-1 at the end of round 2, with Soulja at 213.625 with a 104.761 on the fastest lap benchmark.
Yeah, so Binkss there, I mean, he had the lead into the second lap, but lost it all into the ending of lap number 2. That is how quick it can flip, but we have not seen everything these players are capable of yet. It was a rather slow lap there in the second one. And Binkss got the first one for free. I think we're going to see the first real fight for lap now. Both players just getting warmed up, shaking off the nerves a little bit. And this is where we're going to start to see the real racing happen, because they have these lines memorized from playing the tracks for hours and hours, and they just need to execute that muscle memory to really just go ultra instinct through these turns. You can see how close they're driving now that they've gotten into it. Let's see the turn here. Soulja does have a little bit more speed here usually, and he does get closer to Binkss just before the downhill turn. Let's see if we can get the best speed here. Looks like they both got it really good. Binkss still 0.1 ahead as we're going into the turnaround. Oh, Soulja just barely getting the back wheel over the checkpoint line as he turns around, pushes it very close, while Binkss is going for a little bit more of a conservative approach, going a little higher, not risking it with the millimeters like Soulja's doing. But he does hold the lead here. The speed is good, and into the second lap we have a much closer and a much faster race in our hands here. 108.4 is what we want to see, and this is going to be right down to the wire in the second lap.
Jumping into the banking, Binkss taking a bit of an inside line. Same goes for Soulja. A bit of a cleaner landing, I'd say, from Soulja, sorry, in this particular corner compared to Binkss, but the gap is still around a 10th of a second. Soulja's is not giving up just yet. He can sense that there could be a round win right there within his grasp as we're moving on to the second dirt part. And coming up to the identity, it was helpfully pointed out by the chat that he did get the no drift, which that Binkss got the no drift in the previous round, which resulted in this sudden jump over the bump road. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Binkss keep hitting off the wall. Onto the identity we go. 0.4 of a second to the advantage of the Frenchman. Second turnaround coming up right here. Moving on to the third turnaround. Binkss having an advantage of 0.6 over Soulja. Now it's going to be taking a miracle now, or a mistake from the Frenchman, but it will not happen. Jumping through the trees, and Binkss takes the round win, moves it on 2-1, a 213.004 at the end of the two lappers with a 104.573, the new benchmark for the fastest lap.
Yeah, that is a good time now. That was a close race. Soulja trying to risk a little bit. In the end, he had to. Was 0.1 behind and really had to give it all. But it does give Binkss a round here. 2-1 now on Soulja's second map pick. So Binkss here could be the first to win his opponent's map pick in the match. And he has another one that he chose coming up later. So Binkss here is looking really good. Soulja going so close to the wall there. Really pushing it. But it does net him a small advantage here into the first lap. Now around the turn, who can build the most speed into the dirt? It is going to be Binkss, who tries to get a little closer. But here we'll see the true difference between the lines. Is Soulja going to carry the speed, or is it going to be Binkss to catch up? Soulja will remain ahead here, just about a car length. Down the hill, through the turn, both going full speed. Risking it all. Very nicely done by both. Now the turnarounds are coming in. Soulja still ahead here as they're going for the second one. Just barely touching the checkpoint there. I do fancy Binkss' approach more. Soulja is pushing it very close there to the limit. But look at this lead that he's accrued from that risk. It's going to be a very fast lap here once again. And this time it is Soulja that's in the lead and Binkss is on the back foot.
108.392 the opening lap from this round, courtesy of Soulja, 2/10 ahead of Binkss right here, and currently managing to keep that lead afloat, currently managing that lead, managing that buffer. He can play around with it a little bit, trying to force Binkss to catch up a bit more, maybe put a little bit more on the line with each and every single of his trajectories, and it seems as though he got a bit of a slowdown there, or he didn't get the drift line properly, and he's gonna get down the order 0.8 of a gap already in favor of Soulja, as we're moving on to the identity for the ending of this particular round. Soulja with 0.9 of a second of a difference between himself and Binkss. First turnaround coming in, and it seems as though the gap will stay that way over the course of the identity. It's just a case of keeping it nice and safe, keeping it nice on the black stuff and on the ice stuff as well. For Soulja in this instance, Binkss cannot really do anything to catch him back up unless there's a tree from Soulja at the end, but it will not happen, and Soulja will even the scales again, 2-2 for this particular match with a 2:13.192 at the end of both laps.
Yeah, very good there by Soulja, and I liked how as soon as you could see in the splits that Binkss was behind, Soulja just pulled the safe switch and went like one block above the checkpoint on the turnaround. Really not fancying the risky approach unless he has to, so showing great adaptation there, not going to lose the round to some silly mistake near the end, and that brings us to a 2-2 scoreline as he's equalized here. Both players now just 2 rounds away from potentially winning this map, and that could swing either way. It's so close here that they're really going to have to push it now, or else their opponent will just be 1 round away. So we have a close race on our hands. Really close through the turns right now. This is where Binkss crashed last time, but this time he's carrying so much speed. It's going to be hard to make this turn, but he does it very nicely. Good drift there too. Soulja will have a little bit more speed though, actually a lot more. Very fast there, going closer and closer down the hill. Also keeping the speed there, having to release actually, never mind. And just barely making the turnarounds now at the checkpoint line. 0.3 is the difference, and Binkss so far with a very clean lap. Has not made any mistakes, has driven solid lines. Let's see what the split time is going to be. Oh no, Binkss, this is so fast. This is a banger of an opening lap. I think we might see a low 108 here from Binkss.
107.
107.97, and Binkss right now is driving absolutely superb pace. Let's see what Soulja can do to try to come back this, but this is a good race from Binkss.
This is already a pretty good opening lap and a big kick in the guts for Soulja right now, who has to catch up, but you can see the gap that's widened, that has been accumulated over the course of the first lap. It is definitely not easy to catch, especially on this map where everything has been pretty much set in stone in terms of trajectory, as you said it earlier, Wirtual. And it's definitely one of the maps, and it's one of the maps that has yielded the closest racing over the course of the Trackmania Grand League season. And so far, Binkss is not putting a foot wrong whatsoever, and he heads into the identity now as the leader by around 0.4 of a second. First turnaround done. Moving on to the second turnaround, and Binkss still holds the lead by around half a second, and the gap is only going to widen, and Soulja touches the wall, I think, from my perspective, and the gap is going to widen, and he doesn't get the turnaround, and that will be the round for Binkss, who moves on to finalist status and has the chance of moving on to 2-1 in this best of 5 series.
Well, look at that time to a 2:12.6. I think that just about equals Soulja's personal best. Soulja with a 2:12.4 personal best, but still, Binkss there with that 107 opening lap gave himself so much room to work with in the second lap, and he deservedly moves up into finalist status now, 1 round away from winning his opponent's map choice here. And if he can drive like that once more, Soulja's gonna have to work some magic to try to keep up, because that first lap by Binkss was very, very impressive to watch. And he's on for another fast one here. Already found a 10th there in just the opening seconds. The first 20 seconds of the map, he's found a 10th over Soulja. Soulja getting a little bit more speed there by landing earlier. But can he keep it through this turn? It does not look like he's getting any closer. Binkss having to take a wider line there, though, which does narrow the gap between the two. Soulja now has changed his approach through that turn to get even more speed, but he does lose it down the hill a little bit. And Binkss is now 0.3 ahead, once again with a fantastic lead into potentially the last round on Frozen Fringes. He is on map point. Does just need to hold this now for one more lap to win this one out over Soulja. Last turn around, the gap is still 0.3, and Binkss with more speed here is looking for a low 108 lap. And Soulja now, this is do or die.
This is do or die indeed, and low 108 it is, a 108.218 as a matter of fact. It's not quite as explosive as the opening lap we've seen last round of a 107.9, courtesy of Binkss, but it's still enough to yield him the lead in a gap of a 10th and a half to Soulja. Moving on to the jump on the platform. Moving on to this particular part, both are going to go for the drift line, and Binkss manages it beautifully here, keeping a gap to around the 10s, keeping it consistent, keeping it nice and clinical as we're moving on to the identity in a few seconds. He does get a bit of time before the freewheel. That's going to allow Soulja to catch up. Can he put on the pressure? Binkss keeping it off the wall again, so close as we're moving on to the turnarounds. First done, second one should be done pretty nicely here. Binkss still having the lead, but not by much. It's still a 10th in it around, give or take, and we're going to move on to the third and final turnaround with a bit more speed. Soulja can actually take him. No, it's not going to be enough. Binkss should be able to get this round and come home as the winner of Frozen Fringes and move on 2-1 in this best of 5 series.
Yeah, Binkss now goes on up to match. He has 2 out of 3 to win the match, so 1 map away. Does win Frozen Fringes there. Really stepped up with the pace, and on paper, we had no info about how fast Binkss is. So when you see a 107 first lap out of nowhere there, I think you're getting caught off guard if you're Soulja, because he had certainly looked at that map and thought, this is one I can win, and he was fast on it. But guess what? Now we're going on to Binkss's map pick, Bicycle, where we still don't know his pace, but if he chose this one, he chose it for a good reason. And if you're Soulja right now, I think you're scared to find out what your opponent can deliver here.
Yes, indeed. Soulja currently 9th on the Trackmania leaderboard with a 218.911, as we're about to get number 8 right now.
Yeah, so Soulja with a 218.9. The world record is right around a 218.5, so he does have a solid pace here, but I'm honestly just curious to see what Binkss can do now. How fast is he going to be on his second favorite map in this match? Oh, does only need to win this one to close the series and go on into Grand League in the fall season. Soulja has to win this map and then the last one to stay alive in the match. And right now, Binkss is off to an early lead here on Bicycle. 0.2 ahead already in the first opening turns. Who makes that 0.3 as he's driving right now very cleanly through the turns. Oh, Soulja going so close to the wall. But gets a good dirt entry here and could get a little closer again. Oh no, it doesn't get even closer. It gets further away. Binkss is moving fast, and Soulja with the acceleration penalty here. This is a knockout waiting to happen, as he's going to be over 1.5 seconds ahead, and there are 2 free checkpoints on the way here. First round to Binkss, and we don't really get to see the pace, but he's going to put one on the board just like that. There you go, 1-0 Binkss.
Unfortunate stuff from Soulja to be a little bit too much on the outside at the exit of the corner just after the ice patch at the exit of the dirt. That's actually completely wrecked his race right there and then with that hit of the wall. That was really unfortunate. Let's see if the Belgian is able to put himself back together with the next few rounds.
Yeah, so now Soulja gets an early lead. No, he does not get an early lead. He almost makes a round-ending mistake. I think he's just barely within the knockout range, 1.4. But is it going to be enough speed to stay alive here? It could just be a quickly 2-0. 1.8, so now Binkss has this, just needs to not make any mistakes And he does have a free third checkpoint on the way here. So I'm so sorry, Soulja, for cursing you with the gas there. But that's going to be a quick 2-0. And now Soulja really has to dig deep.
Well, I feel like you say you're apologizing. I think it's me who apologizes, who said that, who was waiting to see how he regains his composure, but the composure hasn't been regained at all over the course of the start of the round. So yeah, unfortunately for Soulja, that is an early deficit of 2 rounds compared to Binkss, and now he has to throw down the gauntlet and put everything he can in his power to actually try to get some rounds on the board and try to maybe delay a bit of the inevitable, or maybe try to mount a comeback worthy of the best storyline. So far, he seems to be looking to do this in this round with the early lead and a gap of 2/10.
Yeah, and this is where the fighting spirit has to come out. He is only 2 rounds away right now from losing the chance to being in the Grand League in the next season. And this is when you really have to show that you want it. Your competitive spirit, and Binkss pulls a Soulja, if you can call it that. And Soulja now is going to be able to give him one back and put himself on the board. That mistake is round ending. So Soulja here with a 2-1 scoreline imminent to happen in the checkpoint. And it's not over yet.
Yes, Binkss stepping a bit involuntarily into Soulja's shoes, and now and now he now gets to see what it feels like when you get a little bit too wide and get on the wrong end of the slope, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, and I mean, so far we still haven't seen the pace. I'm so curious about the pace here.
We haven't done the 2 laps, or not even a single lap yet.
It's been all mistakes, and I really just want to know, like, is Binkss some undercover superhero here on this map? 217.9 PB maybe. What is he gonna pull out here? As on the last map, he was just insanely good. So let's see what can happen now. Maybe we'll finally have a clean round. Right now, it's looking like it, as both players have gotten past the start. Binkss just a car length ahead of Soulja. Soulja with a better entry into the dirt, though, but does get a little bit of airtime here, which lets Binkss go into the lead. Binkss go into the lead. No mistakes on that part. And I think finally for once, we will not get through one lap cleanly, as Soulja makes a panic release there, pulls the emergency brake, and loses about 0.6, 0.7 with that maneuver, 0.8 actually. So now it is desperation time, as Binkss, if he wins this, is on match point. Really has to try to gain a second on Binkss in the last lap of Bicycle, which is something I don't think a lot of players are able to do. Perhaps none. Let's see what he's able to do here. It's all in his hands, Binkss, to put himself at match point, to put him 1 round away from the Grand League dream.
1:11.628, the opening lap for the first lap ever logged in this match on Bicycle, and already Soulja made another mistake that we didn't catch on camera, and he's into the win by KO range, and that will be another win by knockout here in this particular instance for Binkss. Sorry, I almost messed up the names here. 3-1, and now Binkss has it all to do. He's 1 round win away from the Grand League dream.
Will he join his countryman Worker, who was able to qualify to the Grand League in the next season? He's just 1 round away. Soulja has to string together 3 rounds in a row versus Binkss on Bicycle. It is Binkss' map choice. This is looking very good for him right now. But Soulja, this is the time to step up right now. And he do this comeback, bring us to the 2-2 scoreline, and the final map in the series. Arctic Peak, Arctic Split could be the decider, but Soulja has to take us there. If not, it could all be decided here. Soulja, though, getting a lead here, has to avoid this airtime he was getting. That looks better this time. Does have more speed across the ice if he can hold it, and he does. So he is going to stay close. Now lining up the jump. It's better this time. No panic release, and they are so close here. The different lines are showing a few differences, but overall, they are equaling out just about in pace. So both players now side by side as they go into the ice turnarounds. The first one looks about equal. Soulja with a little bit more speed than Binkss. Binkss with an inside line. Second one coming in now. Who's going to get the most speed into the second lap? It will actually be Binkss here, who is 0.1 ahead of Soulja, but this drift is so important, and Binkss chokes it a little bit. He hits the wall. Soulja goes up into the lead, and he can win this round by knockout. Binkss should be just about out of range, I think. Let's see the split. It's 1.4 seconds. He's not out of it, but he hits the wall again, and that is the curtain call in this round. Soulja should be able to hold this with the 3 checkpoints right next to each other here in the next part, and he knows it. He's safing it right now. Soulja 2 rounds away from saving himself here on Bicycle.
2 rounds away from saving himself, and unfortunately, maybe Binkss can start to see the pressure coming in a little bit by bit. He has to conclude this. It's not over yet, and he does not need to. What he wants to probably avoid is the scenario that we've seen in the first match with Kanadi versus Worker, where unfortunately he was not able to conclude the round and the map, and it all went on the decider to the way of the opponent. But so far, Binkss with the early lead after checkpoint number 2.
Yeah, he has one more attempt here undisturbed before Soulja will be right next to him on the scoreboard with that finalist mark. One more round here to try to close it out now, but when you're just that close to achieving your goal, to achieving the dream, you can start to feel the pressure. Maybe start to celebrate a little too early before you cross the finish line, and before you know it, your car goes into the wall and your opponent catches up to you. So he cannot celebrate too soon. He still has a job to do, although he's so close to getting to Grand League. Has to win this round, or at least win one more round here on Bicycle to make it happen. And right now he is doing that. He looks focused, he looks composed. 0.3 ahead right now, a great lead over Soulja. But is it going to be enough? He needs to hit that drift after the multi-lap. That is where he lost it last time, and it is perhaps the hardest drift on the track to do. So let's follow close now. New best lap by Binkss. Does he get the drift? Soulja hits the wall. This could be it. Binkss is going to extend that lead, and it is him right now with the knockout range. He's going to start already on this checkpoint, and this should be it for Binkss. This should be the Grand League dream. 2.2 seconds. One final checkpoint to do it. And I think at this point we can all but say Binkss is a new Trackmania Grand League player.
And that's the final scoreline, 3-1 in favor of the Easy Dream player from France. Binkss makes his way into the Trackmania Grand League, and unfortunately for Soulja, he will have to wait another season and try to give it another go in the fall.